Good morning, y'all. I'm Courtney. I am a family court warrior. In July of 2020, I filed for divorce after a 20-plus year marriage. And during, we formed a multi-million-dollar commercial construction company that focused on multifamily developments as well as 8A government projects ranging from jails, border patrol stations, just various contracts. At the time of divorce, we had over $58 million in contracts, and we were set to make over $8 million as of 6/31 of 2020, 13 days before filing for a divorce. The name of the company was Courtney Enterprises, and the company attorney at the time was the state rep, and a state senator was the father of the state rep. Within 2 weeks, August the 8th, which was later changed to September the 8th, a fraudulent promissory note for $300,000 was signed between my ex-husband, Luis Villarreal, who is the state senator's prodigy, if you will. It was through the state senator that this Luis started his company, SOG International, and was awarded $97 million to house immigrant children in Raymondville, Texas, which is also Willacy County. This $350,000 promissory was a personal promissory note between my ex-husband, this Luis Villarreal, and it was witnessed by State Representative Eddie Lucio III and notarized by my in-house accountant for Courtney Enterprises, Gunn & Craig. Throughout the divorce proceedings, I was locked out of my company. I was locked out of my home. Sua sponte orders to sell community property, and community property became LLC property through the sua sponte order. Unbeknownst to me was this promissory note. But once the promissory note came out, Mr. Luis Villarreal had intervened into the divorce case with being represented by a Carlos Cisneros. Now, Carlos Cisneros was a previous partner of Eddie Lucio and, State Senator Eddie Lucio. As soon as the petition for intervention was filed into the divorce, Luis Villarreal placed liens from a personal promissory note to Eric Solis and Eric Solis only on LLC assets. A house on South Padre Island that was used for a line of credit that only had a $238,000 debt on it, which was valued at $1.8 million, was tied to $38 million in construction bonds. A ranch that had zero debt that was worth over $800,000. And a home that was a marital asset that my ex-husband is still lived in and Mr. Luis Villarreal still has liens on. A receiver was put into place to sell all these assets. The receiver was put into place and transferred every asset of Courtney Enterprises to my ex-husband. Through the sales of the courts and that receivership order, all the funds and all the monies received off the sale of all these assets were transferred to Luis Villarreal. On record, around the time, I believe it was May of 2022, before the courts took away the house I was living in, my vehicle that I was driving, and access to all my money, and had completely shut me out of everything and left me homeless. a Teharina, which is a judge's brother, was written a check. And with this check became Teharina representing Cork Enterprises. So while the courts were selling the LLC assets, my ex-husband was being sued along with this Gunn and Craig that notarized this promissory note in the beginning of the divorce. We're being sued for fraud, for creating contracts outside the already outstanding contracts. Around the same time, on deposition, sworn in deposition, my ex-husband stated that he planned to bankrupt Cork Enterprises and that there was a case pending in court, and Eddie Lucio was the helping him on it. On the same record, he said that him and his buddy Luis Villarreal were basically laundering money. After the final divorce hearing, it took them 6 months for the divorce decree to be issued. Within that time, my company was completely liquidated. All the assets were transferred to my ex-husband. And my ex-husband, with the help of the state senator joining the divorce case, I may have failed to mention that, he filed in the divorce case as co-counsel to my ex-husband's divorce attorney. Teharina files into the divorce case, petitions an intervention in the divorce case to also claim attorney's fees on marital assets for his representation of my company with voting membership rights, my ex-husband, and Gunn and Craig, to which Teharina is MBMT law firm. Also the former partner of also the former partner of Lucio, Carlos Cisneros, has already petitioned into the divorce case. And now you have Martinez, the third partner, who is Teharina's partner. So you have a law firm, has 3 law firm partners, one was a judge, I think one may still be a judge, and then you have Lucio, who is a state senator. And now you have Lucio the third representing a fraud case. So what do you do when you're a female minority shareholder with voting rights within your own LLC that's existed since the marriage? This company would never have been able to be built without my ex-husband and myself. And it was through this divorce and being stripped of all my assets and being left homeless that these guys gave me nothing else to do but to fight for my life. And so I did. And so I started exposing, their companies and who they are. Wasn't up until recently, because, fraud takes about I don't know if you know anything about fraud, but it takes about 18 months to discover. So, my ex-husband throughout this divorce case kept saying in 4 years that he's going to, recover. In 4 years, he's going to be recover and everything is going to be fine. Well, my ex-husband is now reopened our company under Luis Villarreal, the one who intervened into the divorce case, the one who all the assets were transferred to, is now writing checks off of Luis Villarreal's company for SpaceX projects that State Senator Eddie Lucio and State Rep Eddie Lucio have been putting in bills into the state of Texas for years and giving Elon Musk millions of dollars. And now we have a state senator, a state rep, whose prodigy, Luis Villarreal, is contracting these projects, and my ex-husband is the contractor. Wow. Who do you turn to? Where do you go? When the story is this big, where do you go? And when I talk about all of this, I have proof. I've got the promissory notes. I have all the money laundering transactions that were going on between my ex-husband and Luis Villarreal. They were using my company to launder money back and forth through SOG International. SOG International was awarded, again, money to house migrant children in the Rio Grande Valley. $97 million. These are your government officials. Where's Doge now? Is he going to come help a female minority shareholder that was robbed over, $8 million in assets that were sold through a receivership? Is he going to investigate the $58 million of project fees that were diverted through a family court case? The government and anybody, elected officials, the police, the FBI, Homeland Security, where do we, the people, turn when it's our government that is breaking the laws and committing fraud? Eddie Lucio, State Senator Eddie Lucio, retired as senator. He had previous RICO charges for using a courtroom to breach the Sherman Act. State Senator Eddie Lucio is still, to this day, breaching the Sherman Act. He's using a courtroom to commit fraudulent transfers of assets that have gone across state lines. And when I say this, I have proof of every single statement. Where do you turn? Because he's already gotten away with RICO charges before, and he's still doing it. But this is a civil matter. This is your family court.